In cities across the country, electric vehicles are becoming more prominent.
The changes that we've seen in the last few years have been pretty dramatic.
And you may have heard that by 2035, California will require all new vehicles sold in the state to be zero-emission vehicles. People like Bonnie Trowbridge, the executive director of Drive Clean Colorado, have been following it closely.
I follow California's policies really carefully because they are a leader for that mindset of let's push things all, in many cases, all the way as far as we can. Manufacturers are going to have to stand up and step up to that goal.
Some states like Washington, Massachusetts, New York, Oregon, and Vermont are expected to adopt this requirement. Others, like Colorado and Pennsylvania, say they won't. However, they still have major plans for EV.
The state goal is 940,000 EVs by 2030, which is pretty aggressive.
Michael Aschenbrener, the founder and CEO of EV Rides, says these quick yet massive changes are necessary.
From my perspective, I'm glad to see it. I think it's the direction we need to go for sustainability purposes. And I don't think it's too aggressive from a consumer standpoint. I think the challenge with it, if any, will be on the supply side.
He points out there are many barriers currently in the way.
Can they get the parts? Can they get the raw materials in order to make the parts? But I think the only way to make sure that happens is to set these goals.
The supply chain issues have created a backlog of orders. Many of the manufacturers have 6-month or longer wait times.
Finding used EVs is also still a challenge because most of us who drive EVs have only had them for a little while.
And that relates to one of the biggest hurdles, making them accessible to people of all socioeconomic statuses.
Now, to really move things forward and to serve folks who don't have easy access to charge at their homes, we're going to need more public charging and more infrastructure there to enable that to happen.
We would love to see the manufacturers come to the table with vehicles that are more appropriate for the mass market.
And so we need to address that on a systemic level, on a governmental level, to make sure that they're accessible. Once there's price parity, then we have to have charging parity for homeowners and non-homeowners.
Aschenbrener points out there is a reason for these current high costs.
So it's not just the cost of the cars we're paying for right now, it's the cost of the facilities, the manufacturing facilities, which are huge, robust places. And we need to pay for that right now through the cars.
He believes once they are in place and settled, we'll see prices start to drop.
Other constraints are there's not a lot of public charging, and that's a very important optic for people.
States like Colorado are coming forward with incentives to implement fleets of charging locations at places like apartment complexes, workplaces, and shopping centers. The federal government has allocated funding too, and major vehicle companies are also committing.
Ford, for example, has committed to these new EV facilities, so is General Motors, and these traditional automakers are not just saying we're going to build the cars, but here's the new factory we're going to build. Here's the number of people we're going to employ to build the cars there. And those are more of the concrete efforts that demonstrate not just the commitment, but the actuality.
It may seem far-fetched to some to accomplish these goals, but these experts say it's possible if the right steps are taken. In Denver, Colorado, I'm Jessie Cohen reporting.